Lagos, good morning Nigeria. This is CACTV. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. My name is Peace Magege. It's a lovely day for us to talk all things Nigeria. At the end of the day, it is all for us to grow together as a nation. Talking about growing together, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is all for unity, is all for togetherness in this country. He said, according to him, his priority on changing the national anthem to the one we used to use in 1960 was as a result of his love for the unity of this nation. Once again, you're welcome to the Breakfast Show, where we look at stories that made the rounds on the national dailies and we get to discuss some other stories in details. We'll jump over a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at the national stories. Stay with us. Welcome back. Starting with us this morning is The Guardian newspaper. Cautious optimism as federal government unveils new fiscal deal to revive economy. You know how the Nigerian economy is presently. We have the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, working around the clock to ensure that our economy is stabilized. We also saw the Tax Reform Committee Chairman Oyedele coming out to tell us that his committee is proposing to the federal government to peg the customs duty import rate to be at 800 naira per dollar to help businesses plan ahead. Still on the front pages of the Guardian newspaper, on page 4, insecurity hampers rescue of trapped Niger miners. I have no regrets proposing full council autonomy, says Attorney General Fagbemi. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, has been all around in the faces of the state governors, the 36 state governors we have in this nation. And to the beauty of it all, Mr. President is behind him, solidly behind him, clamoring for local government autonomy. Recall that in the past administration, the former president Muhammadu Buhari was so concerned about how funds were being diverted and misappropriated by the state governors, funds that were meant to go to the local government pockets. We also saw issues bordering on joint accounts between the state government and the local government, that the state councils came out to say, look, we can't access these funds. The federal government, the state government is not giving us the opportunity to access these funds. Well, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, are all heads and hands on deck on this particular matter. Ranching resonates North-South sentiment in Senate. Kaduna Assembly indicts El-Rufai for 423 billion naira grafts, orders arrest. That is one of the stories we'll be looking at in detail later on the program. Minimum wage talks resume as lawmakers flare labor for hard-hearted strike. Subsidy not gone as federal government confirms 5.4 trillion naira spent on petrol. Mr. President, as of last year when he came into power, said petrol subsidy is gone. But now we are hearing of a 5.4 trillion naira spent on petrol. We'll look at that later on the program. Court orders substituted service on Ganduje in bribery case. Okay, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper. Oil price drops below budget benchmark as output stagnates. We've been hearing these stories coming out from the NNPCL about the oil price drops, and not just that, production as well. We heard recently how it increased to about 1.7 million barrels per day but now prices are dropping and productions are also dropping. We do hope these the effect this will have on on Nigeria's revenue, because 90% of the money the federal government makes in this country is out of oil. We do hope this would not have a very, very negative effect on our revenue as a nation. Let's move on to Edo State. Edo Guba, why some politicians are angry with Obaseki. That's coming from Martins. Igodalo's opponent running out of campaign ideas, says a PDP chieftain. Kaduna Assembly El-Rufai tango over alleged diversion of 423 billion naira. Looking at the economy, coming from the office of the Vice President Kashim Shettima, Nigeria will witness positive change after sacrifice. The people have been sacrificing since the beginning of this tenure. We do hope these sacrifices, like the Vice President had made mention of, would result to positive changes. Federal government's failure to make fresh offers stalls wage talks as Labour hits back at Akpabio over allegation of economic sabotage, says real saboteurs are political elites looting, abusing power. Labour urges patriotic National Assembly members to disown Senate President. Nigerians need living wage, not minimum wage. That's coming from the House of Representatives. Condemns Labour for shutting down national grid. A lot of persons said shutting down the national grid had more adverse effects on the Nigerian people rather than the National Assembly, the House of Reps, or even the federal government. But well, shutting down the national grid actually drew the attention of the federal government, actually drew the attention of Mr. President to the Nigerian Labour, to this case. A lot of persons have been asking, where is Mr. President's position on this minimum wage matter? Well, we've seen that today the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, will be submitting a template for the new minimum wage to the President. Before the end of today, we do hope to get all of that in. Government plans 6.6 trillion naira supplementary budget to fast-track economic growth. To unbundle commercialized TCN, ASAP recommends 20 executive orders to fast-track economy. US lawmakers petition Biden, says Binance executive wrongfully detained by Nigeria. The federal government is saying Binance will face all due process on charges of severe financial crimes. Recall that the federal government came out to say Binance was one of the platforms where the value of the naira was well tarnished, and they said this was as a result of the issues burden on cryptocurrency transactions and all of that. We saw how the federal government had to, shut down registrations on microfinance banks. I would not want to mention the names, but you know them. But some of them have opened and they are now registering new members with the condition that cryptocurrency transactions are held down for now. In sports, look who's here. Lookman's arrival excites Eagles. Ademola Lookman is finally in the camp of the Super Eagles, and there's excitement all around for the World Cup qualifiers. Let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Tinubu may suspend import duties on food and drugs. That is, for me, a very, very wonderful news there. The customs import duty rate is quite on the high side, and a lot of persons have been asking, why is it that the federal government is making a lot of money yet the cost of living, the cost of foodstuff is still on the high side? It is because import duty rates are high. Like I said earlier, the Tax Reforms Committee has come out to say they should peg customs duties rate at 800 naira per dollar, but Mr. President has come out to say that he may suspend import duties on food and drugs. Very, very important. Senate okays 60 million naira salary for CJN Supreme Court justices. I would not want to discuss a lot on that. The Nigerian Labour Congress has come out to say something on this matter. Even the TUC has come out to say something on this matter. We will look into all of that later on as the program continues. Heritage Bank. NDIC goes after 700 billion naira loan defaulters, least 2.3 million depositors. Recall that the CBN recently, with bribery, Ganduje to get charges through newspapers. 25 suspected killers of Oyo Varsity students arraigned. Crude supply shortage. Foreign investors may dump 20 modular refineries. That's all we can take from the front page of the Punch newspaper. We'll jump off for a quick break. When we come back, we look at more stories making the rounds on the national dailies. Stay with us. To CA Channel's breakfast show. My name is Peace Magege. We're also looking at stories that were lucky enough to make it on the front pages of the national dailies. Next, we are looking at the Daily Independent newspaper. Shutdown of National Grid economic sabotage. Perpetrators must be held accountable. That's coming from the House of Reps. Kaduna Assembly indicts El-Rufai, recommends prosecution. Coming from El-Rufai, he said, "I served Kaduna with integrity." Still on the front page of the Daily Independent, importers lose 200 billion naira to 2-day strike. That's coming from Freight Forwarders. NDIC begins payments to 2.3 million liquidated Heritage Bank depositors. Engage federal government, don't fault our demands. NLC to organize the private sector. Finance Minister presents Economic Stability Emergency Plan to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Bill seeking to outlaw open grazing divides Senate. Tinubu rallies stakeholders on protective policy for sustainable ecosystem. Recapitalization. Fidelity Bank to raise 127.100 billion naira rights issue public offer. Senate okays 300% pay rise. Senate okayed 300% pay rise for Chief Justice of Nigeria, other judicial officers. PDP not in measure talks with another party. That's coming from the National Working Committee. We have a look now at the Nigerian News Direct, celebrating its 13th year. $4.3 trillion investments needed to meet oil demand by 2030. That's a report on page 15. Fidelity Bank to raise 127.1 billion naira via public offer. Court orders seizure of 11.14 billion naira property linked to former CBN Governor Emefiele. Coming from the NDIC, depositors of Heritage Bank to receive insured amounts within a week. Alleged money laundering. Kaduna Assembly indicts El-Rufai for embezzling 423 billion naira. Abuse of office. Tells EFCC security agencies to investigate ex-governor, other cabinet members. Orders contractors to refund 36.4 billion naira for uncompleted projects overpayments. Lagos launches Echo Laws app to provide easy access to state laws legal information. WED 2024 Chevron Nigeria Limited's commitment to sustainability and restoration. That's on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. We move on to the next paper, which is the newspaper you can trust, Daily Trust. Niger mining pit collapse, 6 rescued, 14 still trapped. Atiku tackles Tinubu to Emefiele. Kaduna Assembly indicts El-Rufai aids in alleged 4.23 billion naira fraud. Passengers stranded as Abuja Kaduna train derails. This is the second time this week. That's all we can take from the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. We have a look now at the Nigerian Tribune. No merger talks with any party, coming from PDP. Coming from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, Nigeria's current account balance records 1.43 billion naira surplus. Court orders forfeiture of 11.14 billion naira choice property linked to Emefiele. Alleged money laundering. El-Rufai kicks as Kaduna Assembly wants his government tried. US Congress members call for Biden's intervention in Binance executive. Tigran Gambaryan's detention in Abuja. Police arraign 25 suspects for alleged murder of Adi. Orders federal government suit on council autonomy. Heritage Bank depositors to get 650 billion naira immediately. El-Rufai fought report of alleged 423 billion naira fraud. Lawmakers send findings of probe panel to anti-graft agencies. And on the front page of the Nation newspaper, you can see applause are in for the Federal Capital Territory Administration building a better Abuja for all. Recently, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was full of praises on the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike for the amazing things he has been doing in Abuja and for the people of the Federal Capital Territory. We'll jump off for a short break. When we come back, we'll look at some of the stories that made it to the front pages of the national dailies. We'll look at them in details and we'll discuss further on those stories. Stay with us. subsidy is gone. That was one statement that threw the entire nation into ups and downs. And currently, we are trying to still find our feet and ensure that the nation came during a presentation by Wale Edun, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, on an accelerated stabilization and advanced plan, which he called ASAP, designed to address key challenges affecting the reform initiatives and stimulate development in various sectors of the economy. A draft copy of the presentation by Edun said that at current rates, expenditure on fuel subsidy is projected to reach 5.4 trillion naira by the end of 2024. This compares unfavorably with 3.6 trillion naira in 2023 and 2.0 trillion naira in 2022. The federal government had previously maintained that it would no longer subsidize fuel costs, instead opting for a deregulation policy. As far as I'm concerned, the president removed the subsidy and it remains removed till today. Anybody who is saying that subsidy is being paid, it is left for the person to bring the facts and then we will talk about them. That one was said by the Minister of State for Petrol and Resources, Oil, in April of this year. That was Heineke Lokobiri. But now we have seen how it is in this country. This one is just one out of many that we've heard of, the federal government coming out to finally admit to something that a lot of persons have been looking at. El-Rufai himself came out to say subsidy is still being paid through the back door. Atiku Abubakar said the same thing. Peter Obi said the same thing. A lot of Nigerians came out to say, look, from the looks of things, from the cost of oil in the world, the global market, and the way the cost is now in Nigeria, even looking at the exchange rate, you would know that somehow, some way, the federal government is still paying for all subsidies. Well, it came out to deny it, but now they have come out to say by the end of 2024, 5.4 trillion naira is going into fuel subsidies. You make with that information what you please. We'll jump off for a short break. When we come back, we'll look at another story that made it round on the national dailies in details. Stay with us. Has come out to make some very key statements on the issue of minimum wage. A lot of Nigerians have heard about the recent approval by the Nigerian Senate on a pay rise for the Chief Justices of Nigeria and other judicial officers. The Nigerian Labour Congress has reacted to the approval of a 300% increment in the salaries of judicial workers by the Senate. Recall that the Senate yesterday approved a bill that grants a 300% salary increase for judicial officers at the federal and state levels. The bill, if similarly passed by the House of Representatives and assented by the President, will give the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwoola, an annual salary of 64 million naira. The President of the Court of Appeal will be entitled to 62.4 million naira, while justices of the Supreme Court will earn the sum of 61.4 million naira each. All heads of the various courts, such as the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, the President of the National Industrial Court, among others, will earn the same basic salary of 7.9 million naira annually. In a tweet today, the Nigerian Labour Congress expressed surprise at the swift passage of the bill. The Labour Union urged the federal government to use the same energy to address the plight of other Nigerian workers. The tweet read, and I quote, "See the speed of approval. Why not use the same speed for Nigerian workers? The last minimum wage act has expired since April. We demand a living wage now." This is not to raise alarm on how much the Chief Justice of Nigeria and other judicial officers will be earning. Well, the House of Senate has come out to say that the judiciary needs to have financial autonomy. The judiciary needs to not worry about financial constraints when performing their duties, because an independent judiciary, a judiciary that is well paid, will be able to defend the nation properly and interpret the law properly. Well, wonderful one there. However, the minimum wage issue for Nigerian workers, because everybody is a Nigerian worker. As long as you are serving your nation, you are a Nigerian worker. So the NLC is saying, look, the speed at which you're able to pass this should be the speed at which you should be able to pass a new minimum wage. Whereas we're not even looking for a new minimum wage, we are looking for a new living wage, a wage that reflects the things we have in this nation, a wage that reflects the cost of living, a wage that can defend the naira, a wage that would help Nigerian workers to give their best when it comes to the Nigerian labor force. This is how much we can take on today's edition of the CAC Breakfast Show. My name is Peace Ufuma Magege, urging you to have a wonderful, a peaceful day. And remember, everything you do in this nation boils back to you. Whatever you do in your community, whatever you do at home, whatever you do as a Nigerian boils back to you. So do the best you can do and leave the rest for God. Do have yourself a peaceful day. Bye bye for now. See you tomorrow.